Cleopatra VII was the last pharaoh of Egypt and a key figure in ancient history. She ruled Egypt during a time of major political changes in the Mediterranean world. Known for her intelligence and ambition, Cleopatra played a crucial role in Egyptian and Roman politics. She worked to keep Egypt independent while forming strong ties with powerful Roman leaders. Her reign marked the final years of the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek ruling family in Egypt. After her death, Egypt became a province of the Roman Empire, ending centuries of native rule. Cleopatra was not just a queen, she was a skilled diplomat and military strategist. She spoke many languages, which helped her communicate with leaders from different nations. Unlike other Ptolemaic rulers, she learned the Egyptian language and embraced local customs. This made her more popular with the Egyptian people than her Greek ancestors. She was also known for her intelligence, wit, and charm. These qualities helped her form alliances with Roman generals like Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, shaping the course of history. Cleopatra's story is filled with political intrigue, love affairs, and dramatic events. She lived during a time when Rome was expanding its power across the Mediterranean. Her relationships with powerful Roman leaders were both strategic and personal. They helped her maintain control over Egypt while influencing Roman politics. However, her ties with Rome also made her enemies, leading to war and ultimately her tragic downfall. Her legacy has fascinated historians, writers, and artists for centuries. Cleopatra belonged to the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek ruling family in Egypt. This dynasty was founded by Ptolemy I Soter, a general of Alexander the Great. After Alexander's death in 323 BC, his empire was divided among his generals. Ptolemy took control of Egypt and made himself its ruler, starting a new line of kings. The Ptolemies ruled Egypt for nearly 300 years, blending Greek and Egyptian traditions. They kept Greek culture alive while adopting some customs of the Egyptian pharaohs. Most Ptolemaic rulers did not speak Egyptian and saw themselves as Greek monarchs. However, they still followed some Egyptian customs, such as wearing the double crown. The Ptolemies married within their own family to keep power in their bloodline. Many kings married their sisters, a practice taken from ancient Egyptian traditions. This made their dynasty different from most Greek kingdoms, where rulers usually married nobles from other lands. The Ptolemies used marriage as a tool to control their empire. Alexandria, the capital of the Ptolemaic kingdom, became a great center of learning and culture. The famous Library of Alexandria attracted scholars from different lands. The city was a symbol of Greek influence in Egypt. It had theaters, temples, and a large port, making it one of the most important cities of the ancient world. The Ptolemies ruled Egypt from Alexandria, but they still respected Egyptian traditions. They were crowned in Memphis, the old capital, by the Egyptian high priests. The Ptolemaic dynasty often struggled with internal conflicts and wars. Many rulers fought against their own family members for the throne. Civil wars weakened their kingdom and made them dependent on Rome. Some kings even paid Roman leaders to help them keep their power. This growing Roman influence shaped the fate of Egypt. By the time Cleopatra became queen, Rome was already deeply involved in Egyptian affairs. Cleopatra VII was born in 69 BC into the powerful Ptolemaic dynasty. Her father, Ptolemy XII, ruled Egypt but faced many political problems. Her mother was likely Cleopatra V Tryphena, though little is known about her. Cleopatra was one of several royal children, including her brothers and sisters. As a child, Cleopatra grew up in the royal palace of Alexandria. She was raised in an environment of luxury, but also political intrigue and power struggles. The Ptolemies followed Greek traditions, and Cleopatra received a Greek education. She studied philosophy, science, politics, and literature at an early age. She was also trained in mathematics and astronomy, subjects that were highly respected in ancient Alexandria. Her education helped her become a wise and skilled ruler. One of Cleopatra's greatest strengths was her ability to speak many languages. Unlike previous Ptolemies, she learned Egyptian and connected with her people. Cleopatra could also speak Greek, Latin, and several other languages. This skill helped her in diplomacy, as she could communicate with many leaders. Speaking Egyptian made her popular among her subjects. Most Ptolemaic rulers refused to learn the native language, but Cleopatra embraced Egyptian culture. She even adopted the image of Isis, an Egyptian goddess, to show her connection with the people. This strengthened her position as queen. Alexandria, where Cleopatra was educated, was a center of knowledge. The Library of Alexandria housed thousands of important scrolls and books. Scholars from all over the Mediterranean studied there, making it a major center of learning. Cleopatra likely had access to the best teachers and ideas of her time. Her deep knowledge and intelligence made her stand out. She was not only a queen, but also a skilled leader who understood politics, science, and history. When Ptolemy XII died in 51 BC, Cleopatra became queen at just 18 years old. She was supposed to rule with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. However, their partnership quickly turned into a struggle for power. Ptolemy XIII was only 10 years old, and his advisors wanted full control of Egypt. One of these advisors was Pothinos, a powerful court official. He and other allies of Ptolemy XIII wanted Cleopatra removed from power. Cleopatra was an ambitious and independent ruler. She refused to be controlled by her brother's advisors and wanted to rule Egypt on her own. In 49 BC, tensions grew between Cleopatra and Ptolemy XIII's supporters. Eventually, they forced Cleopatra to leave Alexandria and flee to Syria. However, Cleopatra did not give up. She raised an army and prepared to fight for her throne. She gathered forces near the Egyptian border. While Cleopatra was in exile, the Roman general Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt. He came after defeating his rival, Pompey, in a civil war. Pompey had fled to Egypt, hoping for safety. However, Ptolemy XIII's advisors betrayed him and had him killed to win Caesar's favor. When Caesar arrived, he was shocked by Pompey's murder. He decided to stay in Egypt and settle the dispute between Cleopatra and her brother. Cleopatra saw an opportunity to regain her throne with Caesar's help. She secretly entered Alexandria to meet him and discuss an alliance. According to legend, she had herself rolled up in a carpet and smuggled into Caesar's palace. This bold move impressed him greatly. Caesar agreed to support Cleopatra's claim to the throne. However, this led to a war between Cleopatra and Ptolemy XIII's forces in Alexandria. The conflict became known as the Siege of Alexandria. Cleopatra and Caesar were trapped inside the royal palace by Ptolemy XIII's army. After months of fighting, Caesar's reinforcements arrived. They defeated Ptolemy XIII's forces, and he drowned while trying to escape. With her brother dead, Cleopatra was restored as queen. She ruled Egypt alongside her younger brother, Ptolemy XIV, under Roman protection. After defeating Ptolemy XIII, Julius Caesar declared Cleopatra and her brother Ptolemy XIV as joint rulers. However, Cleopatra was the real power in Egypt. She formed a close alliance with Caesar, which helped secure her position. Their political relationship soon turned into a personal romance. In 47 BC, Cleopatra gave birth to a son named Ptolemy XV, better known as Caesarion. Many believed he was the son of Julius Caesar. Cleopatra wanted Caesarion to be recognized as Caesar's heir. However, Caesar never publicly confirmed that the child was his. In 46 BC, Cleopatra traveled to Rome with Caesarion and Ptolemy XIV. She stayed in Caesar's villa, showing her high status as Egypt's queen. Cleopatra's presence in Rome caused controversy. Many Romans disliked the idea of a foreign queen influencing their leader. Cleopatra was fascinated by Roman culture, but she remained loyal to Egypt. She continued ruling from Alexandria and strengthened Egypt's economy. She also restored many Egyptian temples and presented herself as a goddess, often comparing herself to Isis, the mother goddess. Her rule was stable, but everything changed in 44 BC when Julius Caesar was assassinated by Roman senators. After Caesar's death, Cleopatra quickly returned to Egypt. She had to secure her throne and protect her son's future. To remove any threats to her rule, she likely ordered the poisoning of her brother, Ptolemy XIV. She then made Caesarion her official co-ruler. However, Rome was now controlled by a new group of leaders, including Octavian and Mark Antony. Cleopatra needed a new ally. After Julius Caesar's death, Rome fell into chaos. His supporters, Octavian and Mark Antony, fought for control against his assassins. Cleopatra watched the conflict carefully, knowing Egypt's future depended on Rome's next ruler. She needed a new, powerful ally. In 41 BC, Mark Antony invited Cleopatra to meet him in Tarsos, a city in modern Turkey. He wanted her support in his war. Cleopatra arrived in Tarsos in a golden ship, dressed as the goddess Aphrodite. She impressed Antony with her wealth and charm. Antony, known for his love of luxury, was fascinated by Cleopatra. Their meeting quickly turned into a political and romantic partnership. She invited him to Alexandria, where they spent the winter together, forming a strong bond based on power and mutual interests. Antony needed Cleopatra's resources for his military campaigns. In return, he granted her control over several eastern territories. Cleopatra saw Antony as the key to securing her power and expanding Egypt's influence. She became his strongest ally and lover. Their relationship angered Octavian, who used it to turn Rome against Antony. He claimed Antony was controlled by Cleopatra's charms. In 40 BC, Cleopatra gave birth to twins, Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene. A few years later, she had another son, Ptolemy Philadelphus. These children symbolized the union between Rome and Egypt. Antony recognized them as his heirs, strengthening Cleopatra's political position. However, Antony was forced to return to Rome and marry Octavian's sister, Octavia, to keep peace between them. Despite his marriage, Antony could not stay away from Cleopatra. In 37 BC, he left Octavia and reunited with Cleopatra in Antioch. He gave her more territories, including parts of Syria, Cyprus, and Libya, making her more powerful than ever. Their growing power alarmed Octavian, who saw Cleopatra as a threat to Rome's future and his own rise to power. By 34 BC, Mark Antony and Cleopatra were at the height of their power. They controlled vast territories in the eastern Mediterranean. Antony held a grand ceremony in Alexandria, known as the Donations of Alexandria, where he gave land to Cleopatra and their children. Cleopatra was declared Queen of Kings, and her son Caesarion was named as the true heir of Julius Caesar. This event shocked Rome. Octavian used it to claim that Antony was betraying his homeland for Cleopatra. He spread propaganda against them. In 32 BC, the Roman Senate declared war, not on Antony, but on Cleopatra. This made her the true enemy of Rome. Antony divorced Octavia, breaking his last tie with Octavian. War was now inevitable, and both sides prepared for battle. Cleopatra and Antony gathered a large fleet, but Octavian's navy was better trained and commanded by Agrippa, a skilled general. The two forces met on September 2nd, 31 BC, in the naval battle of Actium, near the western coast of Greece. Cleopatra commanded 60 ships during the battle. However, the fight quickly turned against Antony's forces. During the battle, Cleopatra saw that defeat was near. She sailed away with her ships, hoping to save her fleet from total destruction. Antony, seeing her leave, followed her in despair, abandoning his men. This act sealed their defeat and gave Octavian full control of the battle. Antony's remaining forces surrendered soon after. Octavian had won, and now he set his sights on Egypt and Cleopatra. After the defeat at Actium, Cleopatra and Antony fled to Egypt. They tried to gather support, but many of their allies abandoned them. Octavian's army advanced quickly toward Alexandria. Antony attempted to fight back, but his forces were weak and had lost morale. Realizing that he could not win, Antony fell into despair. He believed Cleopatra was dead and decided to take his own life. Antony stabbed himself with his sword, But he did not die immediately. He was carried to Cleopatra's tomb, where she was hiding. Cleopatra wept as Antony died in her arms. With him gone, she knew her kingdom was lost. Octavian soon entered Alexandria and took control. He captured Cleopatra and kept her under close watch to prevent her escape. Octavian planned to take Cleopatra to Rome and parade her in his victory celebration. She refused to be humiliated in front of Rome. Cleopatra tricked her guards and managed to take her own life. According to legend, she let an asp, a poisonous snake, bite her. Some historians believe she may have used poison instead. Either way, her death marked the end of Ptolemaic Egypt. Octavian allowed Cleopatra and Antony to be buried together. However, he had her son, Caesarion, executed to remove any threats. Egypt was officially annexed by Rome in 30 BC, becoming a province of the Roman Empire. Cleopatra's death ended an era. Though she was gone, her legacy as a powerful and intelligent queen lived on. After her death, Cleopatra became a legendary figure in history. She was remembered for her intelligence, beauty, and political skills. Roman writers portrayed her as a dangerous seductress who used her charm to control powerful men. However, modern historians see her as a strong and capable ruler who fought to protect her kingdom. Ancient Roman art often depicted Cleopatra negatively, showing her as a symbol of corruption and excess. Poets like Virgil and Horace described her as a threat to Rome, blaming her for Antony's downfall. However, Egyptian art portrayed her as a goddess and a wise ruler who cared for her people. During the Renaissance, artists and writers became fascinated with Cleopatra's story. They created paintings, plays, and operas about her. William Shakespeare's play, Antony and Cleopatra, presented her as a tragic and passionate queen. Many later works in literature and theater focused on her dramatic life and tragic end. In the 19th and 20th centuries, Cleopatra became a pop culture icon. Many movies, books, and artworks depicted her in different ways. The 1963 film Cleopatra, starring Elizabeth Taylor, showed her as a powerful yet romantic figure. Cleopatra's image has appeared in fashion, advertisements, and even brand logos worldwide. Historians continue to study Cleopatra's life, trying to separate facts from myths. She was more than just a queen. She was a strategist and leader. She spoke many languages, managed a kingdom, and influenced Roman politics. Her intelligence was as important as her beauty. Cleopatra's legacy remains strong. She is remembered as one of history's most famous and influential women.